I want to talk about this Lakhovsky device again. I just showed you a little portable one I have, and I actually think that one's might be fairly effective, even though it's nothing really exactly like the original design. But I don't know if it really has to be exactly like the original design because the violet ray probably did something too, even though they considered it quackery back in they labeled it quackery back in 1952. But when Lakhovsky was going around with this new information back in the 20s and 30s, it became the rage in Europe, in France, in Paris, and all over the place. I don't know if it was so much in the United States, but you'll see a lot of these bracelets or anklets or whatever the hell it is, where they have like the open, like this. Like here's one, right? I'm wearing one. I didn't know the purpose of this open loop was. I thought it was like, how come they don't close it so you can take it off easy or something? I didn't know what the deal was. But supposedly that works like a capacitor. Now, I don't expect any kind of like miracle from it per se, but it seemed to work very well on plants. I think he proved it worked on plants. And I think it actually has some pretty good effect on animals. And I actually put it on my cat Putin. He's up there on the shelf right now, sleeping with his head going like this. But I'll show you what the hell I put around his collar in a way to make one of these things. But, the actual thing I'm getting at here is, really who drops the ball? You could say it's a secret or whatever, and the elite don't want you to know about it or whatever. But it's actually the people. The people drop the ball. I mean, if you say, for instance, Angelina Jolie came out, she says, I'm wearing Lakhovsky coils and I'm going to try to stay well. Say she said something like that. Oh, everybody in the world would be doing it, She had one around her neck, she had one here, she had one under her leg or whatever, all over the place, right? Everybody in the world would be doing it. Because it's like, I guess Hollywood is one of the best ways to brainwash the masses. And, the elite, the CIA, the Illuminati, they figured that out, right? It's called the, like Kathy O'Brien, if you look up Kathy O'Brien and Hillary Clinton, if you want to look that up. Transformation of America, right? Talking about the transformation of America. In other words, they get in a trance by, psychologically controlling people. So people get thrown the truth a lot of times, and then they get led astray. That's almost like a religious thing, almost like you talk about that with, people throwing the pearls of wisdom at the swine, and they don't want to listen. It's almost like you're throwing the seeds around, it's falling around on barren rock, nothing takes root because that's just how some people are. But actually, it's more the people that are the problem than the elite. So I just want to pass on this idea again because, when it was popularized with a little more backing of science, but, it really kind of popularized it too, was the anti-aging, anti-wrinkle beauty treatment involved in the Lakhovsky device. Now, actually, the device probably is partly accredited to Tesla. Well, I think Lakhovsky got the embryo of the idea from Tesla. Lakhovsky worked on it. It's all his work. After that. But, I guess if it wasn't for Tesla, the whole embryo of the idea wouldn't have came about, too. So it's kind of like, it's not actually directly all from him. I guess to say fair to be fair. It's probably it's Tesla's coil that uses that device, the electronic device too, the one I just showed in the beginning of this video. But it's other things. It's other things going on. And actuality is, those sparks and all that stuff you see, I don't really think that's what's the actually life-giving forces that's going on. Somehow it's pulling in other things, because I said this in another video, but there's word out that if you put the device and the patient and everybody, the whatever you're trying to treat inside of a Faraday cage, it does not have good effect like normally does if it's in a Faraday cage, because it must be pulling out other energies around us that we don't see. And also supposedly doesn't work as well in a full moon. I don't know, man, but that's the deal, okay? And actually, when you're wearing these little Lakhovsky rings, like this, where they're open ended on this, I mean, it's not powered by a Tesla coil or anything electrical. It's just supposedly picking up, energies that are around us. Now, I can't tell the freaking difference with these things, to tell you the truth. They might do something over a long range of time, but I always figured is, why the hell not wear them, right? I mean, they pretty much proved the theory pretty good with plants and even with animals. They probably do work with people. Some of the golfers and tennis players say that this stuff helps their their elbow, whatever, when they're playing tennis, they got problems with their elbow and stuff. Sometimes they feel like this helps, but it has to be made out of copper too, and it's not just that it's working as a capacitor, like this is a copper bracelet, but trace elements of copper getting into the skin and actually absorbed into the blood is creating something beneficial. And I'll actually say something about this, because it actually goes back to ancient times. Pliny the Elder, who was a Roman physician, he said that they found out that copper miners never got rheumatoidism or arthritis, and he used to prescribe a type of copper for arthritis and rheumatoidism. He found this out. Pliny the Elder, so it goes back pretty far. Now, obviously, with anything, there's a beneficial range. You can have too much of this or too much of that, but just wearing the bracelet is not harmful. You're not getting over the range, But the idea behind the Lakhovsky coil is it's like it has to be open. So this basically works like a capacitor, and it causes more energies to be directed into the body. Now, I don't know exactly how super effective that is, but when it was more a new idea and it was more proved with plants, they used this around plants. They put a copper coil that was open on one side around plants. They ejected them with cancers, and they showed that the ones that had the copper coil with the one side open, the Lakhovsky coil, they threw off the cancer and survived, and the other ones didn't. And when it became popularized, it was like the rage. You just couldn't, it was like, I don't know, bitcoins or something. You just couldn't get enough of them, People were like, I got to have a Lakhovsky coil, and the production was going on left and right. And then all of a sudden it dropped, faded from existence. Now, Lakhovsky himself, I'm going to say this. I think he was murdered because from the story I've read, he was hit by a limousine in New York City. He came back to New York City to check up on his device that was being used very successfully in a very prestigious hospital in 1942. And he was hit by a limousine. And from what I've read, he did not want to go to the hospital, so maybe he wasn't like super severely injured. I'm not sure exactly. And 3 days later, he died in the hospital. Or where I think it was a murder was, even though this device was being used very successfully in the hospitals for all these various treatments, not this. Now I'm talking about the electronic device with the Tesla coils. They actually they took it out of the hospital immediately after his death, and they said the treatment wasn't available. Obviously, he would have been cutting into some money there, of other people. And this is the problem, because something too simple that may work, people that are in the medical field, I mean, I know they're knowledgeable and a lot of them are conscientious, but a lot of them do have big egos. It's like, when they spend $300,000 to go to school and they've been in the business and they've been practicing medicine a long time, and somebody comes along and says that, hey, we got a real simple way to fix everything and you don't need all this and that. They don't like that. They don't like that. So, the Lakhovsky coil, though, I think is extremely smart because it boosts the energies of the body itself. And actually, medicines don't really cure anything per se. what happens is they fight the bad stuff and the body cures by itself. So that's what really goes on. So I'm going to show you like what I have around the cat's neck to see what that is. Okay, so you see on his collar, you see the loop right here? That's one side, and it's sewed all the way around. And there's the other side of the loop right there. So it goes all the way around him, right? You cool with that, buddy? So every time I put that on him, I tell you what, he seemed a little more lively. I don't know, maybe it's my imagination. I don't know, but he sure did. But it's on him right there, see? I made it like a loop, so even if it somehow came loose, it can't dig into him. But it's sewn on there nice and tight. It's just a copper wire. And there's the other side of the loop, see? Right, buddy? And this is plenty loose, so he's got, you know. Anyway, so that's a cool thing to put on your cat, too, or your dog. You can make one. And it's just a simple 10 gauge wire. And it's sewn on there, see, through the cloth. And I made it into a loop on the end, so, and it doesn't attach. That's the whole idea. So anyway, they're supposed to be even more effective on animals than they are on people. So you're going to be like the Pharaoh cat. Who the hell knows?